guys, welcome back to the channel. After quite a long hiatus, I am back from the World Championship in Japan. Obviously got second place, and I am ready to be posting some videos again. First off, we got a Banlist reaction that I did live on stream to the new Master Forbidden Limit list, which is a pretty big one. It'll shape up the meta a little more than what we've seen in the past. And I'll give you guys a pretty deep dissemination of all my thoughts in the video. You can always catch me live on Twitch. My name is same here, Kotton YuGiOh. And then now you can also see the VODs on a YouTube channel, which is just Kotton YuGiOh VOD. I'll post the link in the description below, and make sure to check that out. And before I continue, just huge thanks to everybody who's given me support. I appreciate it very much. And also go check out tsx1.com, where you can use the code potato10 for 10% off on all your sleeves. The best. So even if you're only Master Duel duelist, you ever think of coming over to the TCG, that's what you should do. Let's take a look at the newest Master Duel Forbidden list that came out. So it is coming out end of the month. Okay, so we'll have a couple days left. And then nothing really to play for, but the cards that are going to be forbidden. Number 86, Rongo Miniad. Banned in the TCG for a very good reason. Obviously, they could have banned something else instead, but like Gossip Shadow. And even though this deck isn't meta relevant, I'm still very happy to see anything like Degenerate get banned. Like, this card is not fun to play against. So yeah. Wait, Gossip Shadow is already banned? Oh, for Numbers of Veil. That's cool. Rip Gossip Shadow. They should bring it back. When did Gossip Shadow get banned? I never knew that. That's interesting. Pretty early on. Yeah, it was before I was really paying attention. That's interesting. So, I mean, I'll still never complain about a card that does something that you can't interact with getting banned. Because if it's ever good, it only serves an evil purpose. But, yeah. Rangamongo's fully gone. Moving on, I mean, there's not much debate there. Is YuGiOh the Ancient Sentinel, obviously a hit to tier. I think part of what they want to do with this is it means, like, this is like kind of in correlation with the Necrophase hits as well from before. So part of it is reducing the consistency of tier, but then also these like excessive combo decks now can't as easily deck you out through Maxi, because between this Killback and a Necrophase, you could very consistently go through their entire 40 card deck. This is going to make it a bit harder, as well as reducing the ceiling of these decks overall. I love YuGiOh. Bittersweet, but I understand it. The Ishizu cards are very good, and I can definitely appreciate that they're trying to find some sort of balance where those cards can still be okay in the game. And right now they only have a couple, but they're good, so I get it. And then we got Bishbalkin. Okay, you need someone to explain why Bishbalkin was banned. So again, this is not meta relevant, similar to Rongo Miniad, but it has potential to be Degenerate. And that's always a good reason for it to be banned. So sending 5 tokens to each player. There's a very easy FTK that is pretty common that can be set up in a couple different ways, but it all starts with Bishbalkin. Because not only does it summon tokens, but it gains 1,000 attack for every monster on the field. So what you do is you can set it up with a Chronomaly Matchu mech, which says you can turn the monster opponent controls and burn equal to the difference in attack points. So you Geonate a Transverser to swap one of the tokens for the Bishbalkin, so you give it to your opponent, and then you can burn for 8,000 and die. So that combo is relatively easy to set up. It is fragile, however, that doesn't mean that if there's any more combo support or any more good extension tools coming out anywhere in the near future, it can become meta. So that's obviously something we wouldn't want to see FTKs and not have been healthy for the game. And you know, you constantly heard me complaining about formats like 2018 the TCG, where it was like Goki ripping your hand and Danger FTK and Pend FTK. Like, those weren't good formats. So preemptively hitting these is fantastic, and it opens up the opportunity for them to print other cards which can be good in these type of decks, but not like push Degeneracy. Because the thing about some of these cards existing is even if they aren't meta relevant, it kind of restricts their ability to make cards for the future, because they have to keep in mind if they print anything that it may be used for something like FTKs. We see that a lot with Tearlaments, actually, like the new fusions that have been released, like one of the new ones, Magnum, I think it's called, from Dune, like specifies it needs a monster on the field and the hand, I think is what it is. All I know is you can't use a tier for it. And the main reason stuff like that exists is so you can't keep abusing Tearlaments. And I understand why they do that. But if the tiers got banned, they could stop putting those type of restrictions in. So yeah, it's always something to keep in mind looking at these type of forbidden lists, is they're also kind of future-proofing their card design options when they're doing this. It was also generic enough to be super polyable. Oh, talking about Magnum. Yeah, sure. Yeah. Talking about Degens. It's an apology for banning Coder from TCG. I don't actually know the meme why he hates that card, so... but the card is not going to do any good. It's only for evil stuff. Next up is Block Dragon. Very happy it's banned. I mean, I think this was a correct choice to ban in the TCG. I remember when this card first came out in the TCG in 2017, I had maybe a stack of 200 of them. It was one of the first investments I made when I was 17, and I was still getting used to the vending thing. The investment didn't pan out because it got printed in the Megatins before it really became good, and then also in Cecil as a super, I'm pretty sure. So I never really got value out of it. But just as a competitive side of me knew that that card was going to be good. Even if it wasn't in a rock deck, the fact that it was a dragon ruler when at the time all the dragon rulers were banned, that didn't return to the hand, couldn't be destroyed by card effects, was level 8, which is fine, and the stat line 25/3000 is huge. So that alone was very good, and it wasn't once per turn. Also, it can search itself, so you can set up like these things where you link it off and go Block Dragon plus Block Dragon, and it just pushes 5,000 damage super easily. And deck like say Zodiac, where you can fill the grave well, and that was like not bad. So I always had faith in that, and then I always had faith in like undersupported types getting stuff in the future, like Snake Rain is the type of card, Block Dragon, Fossil Dago was something I always thought would be good eventually. Like those cards that are good if they were for different types means that someday they may be good if it gets a little more support. Rock eventually got that, obviously, without Emancipators. So Block Dragon, very insane card. Shouldn't have to explain why. Like if it was in a different type, it'd be even better. So buy Block Dragon. Being at 1 didn't really matter much because obviously you can always access it via Gallant Granite. Yeah, I'm happy it's gone. I think Rock is still like an okay deck. Obviously it is way worse, but it is still fine. Rogue, which okay. I don't really like that deck that much either, so I'm gonna be a little biased. So could it be because they want to release Super Heavy soon, and they want to release Emancipated Super Heavy? Maybe, not sure. I could see that. You didn't realize it could search itself. Yeah, well, obviously at 1 didn't matter, and in these rock decks you were never doing that, but you could play it in a general earth deck and it could search itself and set up 5,000 damage pushes and link fodder relatively easily. Next up, that's the card that I think everyone wants to talk about, is Tearlament Merly. So if people remember, we talked about balance discussions months ago in TCG for how to address tier. We talked about a decent hit may be Merly, because now your GD Crow type effects are way more powerful. They cut off half of your potential for the turn instead of a third, which is huge. And then Merly also shuts off Elf, it shuts off Sprint, Gigantic, all the other lines where you can kind of manipulate the tier deck into a 2-axis deck. Now you kind of can really only focus on 4s. So getting that obviously is a big hit to the deck. However, people are saying it's dead. I've heard a couple people say that. I think that's wrong. I mean, I've played without Merleys plenty of times because of Desires, and you can win just fine. Like, you still have access to Kid, which is insane of a card. Snow is still legal, so you can set up very easy defensive plays to play on your opponent's turn. You don't need Elf. Like, if you have Scream up still, you can Snow on your opponent's turn. That's a disruption, and then you trigger Scream, and you're just still chilling. You have to make up the consistency a bit. You have to make up for the lost Aquas a bit. But it's still playable for sure, and I have no doubt that we could see tier remaining as a tier 1 deck. In fact, I will start theorizing some stuff in the future, and I'm very happy with this hit because it does bring it down to size in terms of how you handle it a good bit, but it is not slaughtering the deck either, like we saw it happen in the OCG. Yeah, some people are coping that tier is dead. I disagree, and I'll spend a good amount of time, and I'll make videos in the future for you guys on YouTube discussing potential lists, ways to approach deck building. Some that are more combo based, which are better in non-Max E formats, which I know some Master Duel tournaments abide by, and some which is general ladder based, or official Master Duel formats. But yeah, so we have many options still, and I'll talk about that. It could probably split it up into several videos, so make sure to stay tuned for those. That's Merly. Okay, let's go into the cards that are being limited. Can Chaos Angel work with Tearlaments? You don't need it, but I mean you can. I don't see a world you'd ever really need it. So cards to be limited. Branded Fusion. Wasn't this card just put the 2? Like it was at 1 and then went to 2? That's strange. Sure. I don't really know to talk about this. Like, you can still search it. I've never been big of a branded player. I really didn't enjoy playing the deck when I played it. And I really haven't done the math on how much this affects consistency. Like, you can always add this card back with Tragedy or with Retribution. So it's not like you're affecting the grind game for this deck. It would just be affecting the consistency a little bit. And I guess it depends how much of a hit that is. I can't really speak to it, unfortunately, because I'm not that familiar with the deck. I'm sure there's many other YouTubers who will give you way better insight into how one branded fusion may impact. I have to go about the construction and consistency, but if the card is still searchable consistently through Alibers and openings and whatever, then that doesn't really matter. So yeah, that grass looks greener going to 1. Cool. I love grass, but I think this is fine. This card's obviously insanely good. I actually like this card in 40 card decks as well. If you're only going second, this will often force an interrupt, or if they're not playing a deck with hard negates, it helps you really push through disruption if you are playing graveyard based decks. So I love this card. Seeing one of those understandable, and if Thrust comes out anytime soon, that can also maybe be a reason why. As time will tell. As for 60 card decks though, it makes them a lot less viable. You can obviously left arm offering, but you're very weak into disruption with that, so it's fine. I don't think there's a problem with that though, because while I love those decks, I know when you are playing against it from a normal deck's perspective, it can be very frustrating to play against. It can feel like there's way more variance to it than there should be, and that can be an unenjoyable thing to play against. So I understand why it's at 1. I'd have to assume that putting it at 1 though is to like keep it as an option for decks that are playing 40 cards to use, where they can thrust it out later. Like if you're playing Wisp early and they get maybe 10 cards out of the deck, and then they use the effect of Sleepy Memory to draw a card, and you can thrust for grass, mill 10, and that's like a reasonable way to maybe push through the field in terms of like actually playing instead of like a Kaiju or a Herald of the Abyss type thing. Obviously that's neither a Thrust or Pearly or in Master Duel at the moment, but I have no doubts they will be in the future. But yeah. Next up is Calbeck to 1. So again, this is just more hits the Tearlaments, trying to diminish the ceiling. Obviously, still having 1 Calbeck means if you see it, you can push through 5. It makes Snow worse as well because you can't guarantee as much fuel as much. It's just interesting to note, with only 1 real melee left, it makes Divine or the Herald worse in tier as well, because outside of the Calbeck, if it's like gone already, the Diviner only really sends Shufflers, which is a lot worse. I understand that. I love Calbeck, and I wish it was just at 3, because I think it's really cool to have a removal hand trap in the game. So that part is a bit sad, but I understand its mill effect is a bit strong. As for Spright and Swap Frog, I'll talk together. They keep hitting Spright, and usually these consistency hits don't matter that much. They can kind of make the deck a little more luck-sacky. But I think we're getting to the point where Spright, where we've hit the consistency so bad that maybe it becomes a problem. Like between the 2 Jets, the 2 starter, or the 1 Jet, sorry, the 2 Blues and the 2 starters, it's very easy for you to just not draw playable. Like hands that are just Spright red plus normal summon Angler, make Gigantic, get Impermed, pass. Like those hands aren't good. Having the Jet and Blue is what made you resilient to hand traps. So losing stuff like that makes it a lot worse. Swap to 1 means you're not doing as many maxi broken stuff, and I still have to question if you're playing the 1 swap and 1 Ronin Totem. If you are, that means even more lines like where I said where it's Gigantic pass. It's curious because after the Spright Blue and Jet and starter, your level 2 extenders are low quality. They're pretty bad. So Spright is going to have a hard time kind of making up for that. Yes, they can try go to the adventure stuff, but I know in Master Duel they're a lot worse than the TCG thanks to restrictions. So we'll see how it adapts. I don't think it's dead, but it just keeps getting harder and harder for that deck to be good. Hard to be summoned Blaster, Dragon, Ruler of Infernos. Why not just 3? Like, obviously you won't do anything. They're trying to be cautious, but this is just stupid. Put it 3. Obviously it won't matter. Extravagance to 2 is really funny. I understand it. Like when these very powerful spell cards exist, like Prosperity, Extravagance, hitting these, you know, to make these decks a little less consistent, which isn't something you really want, I guess, in the game. But I can understand the appeal as well. I don't know. I mean, Prosper's been getting on my nerves in the TCG, so I can understand hitting these pod cards that are overly powerful and always get you to your ace cards or your blowouts. 2 isn't a huge difference, though. I think if they're going this direction, they should probably hit Desires as well, which is a bit sad because I love that card. But yeah. Anyways, Luster Pendulum, the Draco Slayer. Was this card limited? I don't know why. This is whatever. Put it at 3. Again, it doesn't make a difference. Extrav is a lab hit. Barely, but yeah. Yeah, Draco Slayer's at 1. Sure. And then cards that got to 3. Nadir Servant. Cool. I think the card's interesting. It's restrictive enough that you can't put it in everything, but when a deck can play it, it feels pretty strong. So I like that card. Ancient Fairy Dragon Shirt. The card's kind of proved that it's a good card, but manageable. And the Gersu, the card has not seen play for a long time, and I don't know why the OCG had it limited, but sure. Yeah, I mean, that's everything for the list. So how do I feel about the format? So people are saying Dragon Link didn't get hit, neither did the Runic cards. Runic decks, while I know a lot of people love them, I really don't think they're that good going second into a lot of the decks that have real fields, like Tier or Dragon. So I think it's still fine. Maybe hitting the Naturia cards a bit would have been good. Like, Naturia Beast is just very unpleasant to play against, but whatever. No Dragon hits. They probably should hit Dragon at some point. I don't know what you do. Magnemite's so insane. I don't know if that's going to be a problem. Dragon is so many good cards. This is a problem in the TCG as well. It's like, how do you hit it? Unless it just becomes the bar for building metas. Like, they're going to keep having to make decks slightly better than Dragon Link for them to be good. Otherwise, how do we hit it? Like, if you look at, they hit so many cards. What do you hit? Like Erratic Shield, you hit Tracer. Like, some of the stuff, you just have to straight up ban them, which feels aggressive, but I don't know. Or ban Magnemite. It's a very weird state because, like, the Dragon cards, they're just all so high quality. Something that actually that should be banned in Dragon Rulers, I think, regardless, is Chaos Ruler. And it's not just for Dragons, it's for every deck as well. It obviously matters for Grass decks, it matters for Tier. It's a big one we see that's kept Tier alive in the OCG with way stricter hits than this. It's because of Chaos Ruler. So we're going to start seeing that in Master Duel more, is Chaos Ruler variants. I'll talk about that in the videos and ways you can go about that. But pretty much you can parallel like level 4s together, 3s and 5s like punk cards, or 7s and 1s like Fenrir plus Jetson Klon. Throw it away in a Chaos Ruler, and that card is fantastic in any graveyard deck. Obviously, Tearlaments is one. So yeah, expect that to be talked about a bit in other videos. I think if there wasn't be a Dragon hit, that was the card that should get hit, because it hits other decks too. That card is insane, and while the deck is very fun to resolve, it is definitely deserved to be banned. Like, them banning the TCG was a good thing. So yeah. Tier doesn't need Ruler. Well, they top Worlds without it. Well, there was a different format, so we can't really say that. I think a lot more Tier decks will start using Chaos Ruler because the Cash Tier cards are out now, and because they need more ways to mill without Merly and less millers. Chaos Ruler plus Zombie Vamp is nuts, and like with the punk cards, yeah, I think Chaos Ruler is significantly stronger than Zombie Vampire though. So yeah, those two decks weren't hit, which we'll see if they'll have to do in the future. Cashier right now doesn't look that scary without a Rise Heart. People are complaining about it, but it's fine. Like, Mind Hacker's annoying, but without a Rise Heart, these decks aren't a problem, so I'm not concerned about it at the moment. When they release the next pack, though, with Cashier cards in it, we'll see if they do anything about it, because if it's released completely unrestricted, that will be a problem, obviously. It's not a fun format of the TCG. Labyrinth also wasn't really hit, but I think Labyrinth is a very manageable deck, and it's a fun deck to play against. It's not really like a Floodgatey trap deck, at least most of the time it isn't. And those are the type of trap decks I'm happy to see, because you get to interact with them, and they require critical thinking. And you can play around, you can outplay them with it, and when you're playing the deck, you can outplay with it. So Labyrinth is a great trap deck to exist. I'm fine with that deck being unhit. and it's not overpowered. So what else is there to talk about? What other decks? I think those are all the decks that weren't really hit, the people on people's radars. I think for them, besides Dragon Ruler, Chaos Ruler and the Dragon Link stuff, I'm fine with everything else not getting hit. Because that's my opinions on the ban list. I think tier is still fine, and expect some videos for me talking about the future Tearlaments in Master Duel.